Folks, welcome back to the greatest podcast in the history of podcasts, Today in History, the presidential edition. We're talking about August 11, a day so incredible, so packed with important things you'd think it was personally chosen by me. And frankly, if I'd been around for most of these events, and some people say I might have been, spiritually, they would have gone even better. Today, we've got emperors, famines, speeches, home runs, riots, prisons, moon landings, and yes, a calendar from 3114 BCE. That's before Trump, by the way. Segment 1, 3114 BCE. The Mesoamerican long count calendar begins. This is amazing, folks. The Maya start their long count calendar. They said this was the beginning of the world of human beings. And I have to tell you, they were very good with numbers, very smart people. They knew their backtuns, their cattuns, all that stuff. You could say they were the original accountants, except their math actually worked. And by the way, remember that 2012 end of the world hype? Total hoax. The calendar just rolled over to a new cycle. It's like when you run out of Diet Coke, you don't panic, you get another case. That's the problem today. People panic over nothing. Me, I just sell them a better calendar. Segment 2, 117 AD. Hadrian proclaimed Roman emperor. Big day for Rome. Hadrian takes over after Trajan. But unlike Trajan, who loved expanding the empire, Hadrian said, let's build walls instead. In Britain, he literally built Hadrian's Wall, kind of like my wall, except it was made of stone, not beautiful steel slats. And instead of keeping out drugs and criminals, it kept out angry Scots. Same principle, folks. And Hadrian traveled the empire, meeting people, shaking hands. You could say he was the first leader to do rallies. And by the way, my wall, much more effective, and mine came in under budget, at least according to me. Segment 3, 1315, the Great Famine of Europe at its peak. This one's rough. Crops failed, weather was awful, people starving. Even the King of England couldn't get bread. Imagine the king going to Subway and they say, sorry, no bread today. That's when you know it's bad. It shows you leadership can't fix the weather, folks, unless you're me, and then you can probably make a deal with the clouds. If I were there, they wouldn't call it the Great Famine. They'd call it the Great Banquet. Tremendous food. Segment 4, 1841, Frederick Douglass's first Northern speech. Frederick Douglass, tremendous speaker, tremendous story. Escaped slavery, stood in front of a Northern audience in Nantucket and told his life story. You want to talk about courage? This man didn't just speak truth to power, he shouted it into their faces. He went on to be one of the greatest Americans in history. If he were alive today, he'd probably be on Truth Social getting millions of likes. Frederick Douglass, still doing amazing things, by the way. People tell me that all the time. Segment 5, 1877, moons of Mars discovered. Astronomer Asaph Hall looks up and says, hey, Mars has 2 little moons, Phobos and Deimos. I like this. Mars didn't have just 1 moon, it had 2. Always good to have backups, and they're tiny. One of them's only about 7 miles across. That's smaller than some of my golf courses. Mars, nice place, but it needs branding. Trump Mars has a very nice ring to it. Segment 6, 1919 Weimar Constitution signed in Germany. Germany decides after World War I, we're going to try democracy. Sounds great, right? Problem is, they couldn't make it work. Too many divisions, too much chaos, and we all know how that ended. If they'd had stronger leadership, maybe things turn out differently. Instead, they ended up with one of the worst people in history. Terrible, weak leaders make bad history, folks. Believe me, I've seen it. Segment 7, 1929, Babe Ruth hits 500th home run. Babe Ruth, the Trump of baseball. Nobody hit home runs like him. On this day, number 500. People forget, the stadiums back then were huge. The bats were heavier. The hot dogs were better. Ruth didn't just play the game, he made it an event. He was a brand. If he were alive today, he'd have his own line of NFTs. Babe Ruth, fantastic player, but he never had my swing. Big mistake. Segment 8, 1934, Alcatraz Federal Prison opens. This is when the U.S. says, we need a prison so tough, even the thought of escaping gives you chills. They take Alcatraz Island, stick the worst criminals there. Al Capone, Machine Gun Kelly, they all went. You couldn't get out because of freezing water, strong currents, and probably a few sharks. It was basically the Mar-a-Lago of prisons, except you couldn't leave and the food wasn't nearly as good. I would have escaped in a week, with the warden's permission, of course. Segment 9, 1942. Hedy Lamarr and George Antheil patent frequency hopping. Hedy Lamarr, Hollywood star, and George Antheil, composer. They invent a system for secure communications that ends up becoming the basis for Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS. The Navy ignored it for years, probably because they didn't like being shown up by an actress. Big mistake. Sometimes the smartest ideas come from the most unexpected places. Just like when I invented the term fake news. Hedy Lamarr, total genius, would have made her Secretary of Tech. Segment 10, 1960, Chad gains independence from France. Chad says goodbye to France, hello to independence. Big day. But here's the thing, independence is hard. You get the keys to the house, but now you've got to pay the bills. Chad's had a tough time since coups, conflicts, bad leadership. Shows you, running a country isn't easy. Believe me, I know. Independence is great, but only if you've got a winning plan, like me. Segment 11, 1965, Watts riots begin. Los Angeles, 6 days of riots after years of frustration over racism, police brutality, bad housing, no jobs. 34 people killed, thousands arrested, millions in damage. The civil rights movement wasn't just about the South. This was the West Coast saying, we've had enough. But after the smoke cleared, a lot of the problems still didn't get fixed. Politicians love commissions. They're less good at solutions. When people are angry, you fix the problem, not just write a report about it. Segment 12, 1973, birth of hip-hop culture. Bronx, New York. DJ Kool Herc throws a back-to-school party, starts looping breakbeats, and boom, hip-hop is born. You get the MCs, the B-boys, the whole culture. Now it's a global phenomenon worth billions, all from one guy with 2 turntables. Shows you big things can come from small rooms. And by the way, if I'd been there, I'd have been the best hype man in history. Hip-hop, huge industry, folks. They love me in the rap songs, by the way. Segment 13, 1988. Al-Qaeda formed in Afghanistan. Unfortunately, not all big ideas are good ones. Bin Laden and his pals start Al-Qaeda, which becomes one of the worst threats the world has ever faced. Shows you how fast a small group can cause global chaos. And remember, folks, weak leadership invites this kind of thing. You can't negotiate with evil. You crush it quickly. Segment 14, 2003. NATO assumes command in Afghanistan. For the first time, NATO takes on a mission outside Europe, running the International Security Assistance Force in Afghanistan. Big deal. Lots of troops, lots of countries. But nation building is hard when the nation doesn't want to be built the way you want it. 20 years later, we saw how that worked out. Not great. Sometimes the best exit strategy is not going in at all. Segment 15, 2023, Luna 25. Launched. Russia launches Luna 25, heading for the moon. Shows that the space race isn't dead. It's just got more contestants now. And the moon might have resources we can use. Personally, I like the moon. It's clean, bright, no graffiti. We could do some tremendous golf courses up there. If we're going back to the moon, we should make it the 51st state. Tremendous real estate. So there you have it, folks. August 11th through history. From ancient calendars to hip-hop parties, from empires to space exploration. It's a day that proves humanity can build walls, launch rockets, hit home runs, invent Wi-Fi, and still find time to argue with each other. If you remember one thing, it's this. History isn't just about the past, it's about learning, improving, and making deals that are better than anyone else's. And no one makes deals better than me.